Hello and welcome. It is Japan, and we have a retrospective video here, kind of in the form of a tier list about Sarray, or now Sareee, time in WWE. I honestly thought it was longer than it was, and when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's only like a year and a half. I think I could watch all the matches, and somehow I found most of them, like really easily. The hardest ones were the UK ones because it felt like there was. I don't know if there's not like a huge database and I just completely opened up a different window that I was supposed to. I'll check it the match matches up. But yeah, I figured let's go by each match. I watched every single one and we're gonna rate them from an S to D. And I'm on especially on Saray's parts, we're going to make sure that we just rate her side of things. So her first match was against Zoe Stark, which was kind of interesting. It was in April of 2021. So this only lasts from 2021 to 2022, which I was honestly just kind of surprised. I didn't expect it to be like so recent, but also so like crazy because I remember I had WWE 2K23. I remember her being in it. I never put together that her and Sareee were the same people because she doesn't have the same look. And so we're gonna go into a lot of this different stuff and talk about it. But right off the bat, amazing theme song. Like I had to listen to this every single match, and I didn't want to skip it. I skipped other people's entrance. I did all that, but man, her theme song is Chef's Kiss. I like it a lot. I wish she could somehow take it back. I don't know if she even has really an entrance song now, but this was her debut match against Zoe Stark. Honestly, I think it was pretty solid. She had some pretty nice tricks, a bit of the strong style striking, which is what she's known for. I think it really showed off how well she was. Her first couple matches are like that. They're really just like it's her, like that you know of, and like this like outfit too. If you see, is exactly everything that is her right now, and they just skipped over it eventually to try to make it work, and it just never did. So but this one I put in B. Very first opening solid match for a debut. It's probably one of the best debut matches that I've seen for somebody who was like in this era of like I don't know, like I feel like this was still a struggle that made like wrestling good because I think some of these matches you could tell were just kind of like thrown on there for 5 to 6 minutes. I mean, this was a 7 minute match. It was really not that much, but it still was pretty good. Next up, she had Zeta Reamer. I've never heard of her, and I don't even remember her in WWE at all. She was one of the very few people I just didn't recognize at all, even by name. Though the match actually was really good. She got a lot of like what she was known for, a lot of good strikes in it. She started using that lethal drop kick that she eventually changed the name of, like pretty much year two, I think. But man, where she just has him against the rope and just drop kicks him, like jumps, kicks him out of the ring kind of thing. It was great. I want to put this one in A. It was one of the ones that actually felt like I was watching the same wrestler that I'm watching in this day and age. It was about a 3 minute match, so it wasn't super long, but it was just solid 3 minutes. It's kind of crazy when you think of it. If there's barely any matches that are over 10. In her first year, she only has one match that's over 10 minutes long. So you can kind of see where she struggles with just being able to get the screen time. So a lot of the times, you just kind of have to do it. And this is like every other week. It feels like she has a match, at least in the beginning. And they were building her up. It looked like she was, on that high roll of just doing stuff. Next one was against what is it? It's all. Why don't I know her name? She ended up on the main roster at some point, but this match was just super quick. I don't think it was anything too crazy. I think it was just all Sareee, and I put it in B. Um, there's not much to say on it. It was a super quick match. It was only 2 minutes and 23 seconds. I felt like there might have been a story or something behind it, but I don't know. Then we had our first PLE. I think it's the only PLE that she makes it on. It's on the pre-show. It's her and Zoe Stark against the Robert Stone brand, which honestly, this match was. I thought it was going to be better because it seemed like they had some build up to it and it was supposed to be a PLE, but I kind of I just kind of thought it wasn't anything too crazy. I kept wanting it to be a little bit better, but it just wasn't there for me. I think like Zoe Stark actually looked the best in it, but I don't think it was the best altogether to me. I'll put it in B. I don't think like it would be like a C match. I do think there was some good spots in it, and it was a fairly decent match. I mean, for 7 minutes, I think she was in there for 2 to 3. I think it was, so she had a little bit of time in it, but it wasn't a lot. And then next up, she was building a storyline with Mandy Rose, which was interesting. It just felt like it was all over the place from the little bit of snippets. But she faced Gigi Dolan in Gigi Dolan's singles debut, I think is what they said, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing. I thought this one was a pretty decent match. It was only 3 minutes long, so I felt like it kind of suffered. I feel like you could have added like 2 minutes to this match, and it would have maybe been an A. But I'll put it in B. It was a solid. The thing with these matches is that it's hard to rate them as like a like 5-star classic type of scale because of like they obviously don't have a lot of time to give their mid card at this point. Nowadays, if Sarray was in there, she'd be easily getting 10-minute matches like every other week. But this one was just a struggle. Next up is her match against Dakota Kai, which is her longest match. It was 13 minutes. I think they had a lot of in-ring chemistry, and again, this is actually one of those matches that they ended up bringing. She ended up facing her twice, I think, overall in this whole run, which is kind of crazy because like she rarely faced anybody multiple times other than Mandy Rose. But this one, I think, was one of the better matches. I'd put it in the A tier match. It was kind of weird because it broke her streak. She was undefeated 5-0, which again, I feel like just because they did it with Asuka doesn't mean they have to do it with somebody like this, but it felt like they were building her talent at first, similar to Asuka, and to have her just kind of get stonewalled here with a loss, it was kind of random. But it made sense because obviously they were going to use her in a different way. But the match itself, I thought was really good. I think it was her best match so far out of these 6. Then we had the first Mandy Rose match that she had, where Sareee hit her in the nose and she freaked out and got count out and lost. It was kind of a really, really wonky ending to have. I feel like there might have been like some type of storyline where she didn't want to get like hit in the face. I know she's trying to be like pretty and stuff, but it was just kind of like a match that looked like it could have maybe cooked, but they just kind of left it in there when it was still doughy. So I'll put it in C. It wasn't the worst thing I saw. Like I said, it was still 6 minutes before that they had some decent back and forth, but it wasn't as crazy as we thought. It then led up to a fatal. Is Fatal Attraction is their faction, right? Gigi Dolan, Mandy Rose, and Jace. It was against KC2 and Sarray. She didn't have a lot of, there wasn't a lot of her in this match. I mean, obviously, when you have 6 women in there, it's a little harder to get your time in. I think like it definitely was one of those ones that like if you would have added maybe a minute or two, like this was 6 minutes for. That means that you can average that basically they had 1 minute for each woman, even though there was more than that. But it just felt like, honestly, that's kind of how it was. You had 1 minute to just do what you got to do, and I didn't like it that much. So I'll put it in C. Like I said, she was barely in it, so I think it kind of just is a bad rating because of that. Then we had our first WWE 205 live match. I don't ever remember 205. I'm assuming it was kind of like Level Up before Level Up. You guys will have to correct me in the comments below. But she faced Amari Miller in here. I like the pacing in this because it just felt like they just let her go out there and do whatever she wanted because it was like just like, hey, here's 4 minutes, go out there and have a good match. And I thought it was pretty solid for a 4 minute match. Like what this equivalent would be, what the speed's time right now. I thought it was decent. I put it in A. Again, like the scale's a little harder with this because we're just basing it off of like how good she looked, and I thought she looked really good in this match. Next up, we had a tag team match, which was now Amari Miller on her team against Indy Hartwell and Persia. Another one that I had absolutely no clue who Persia was. This was kind of just a domination. Like, it was only 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I really don't know what the point of this match was. It was kind of a steamroll, and it just felt like completely out of the blue because like man, she was just having a feud with Mandy Rose, and it was just like, okay, it's done. I put it in C. Uh, it didn't have enough time to be bad, I guess. I mean, for what if you told me, hey, you got 2 minutes to go out there, she did pretty solid for the 2 minutes to go out there because I mean it was a tag match, but yeah, overall wasn't wasn't the greatest. Then we had another 205 match against Cortez. This was another person I've seen but never had seen a match of. I thought they actually had some pretty good chemistry. Again, it was one of those where you get it 5 minutes and they went out there and I think they did pretty solid. I'd put it in B. It wasn't the worst match that I'd seen. Definitely these 205 matches I think ended up being some of her better ones because I think they just let her go out there and just wrestle for that a little bit of time and I think it shined the most. Then we had, which was one of the second to last match that she had on her first year, which was against Kylie Ray. Which Kylie Ray was really big back then. That was when she was, I think, preparing to go over to the NXT UK stuff. She might have been in the middle of that. I really don't know the timetable of all that, but this match was at the moment, speaking, try not to spoil the rest of it. This was the best match. It was S tier. If you're gonna watch any of these matches, this is the one that the best sum up like what she could have done if they like had held Sarray to what she needed to be. Like I feel like this was the thing to do because it was a really good it was a really good match. And then her last match of the first year was against Lash Legend, which was kind of crazy, but I didn't know that like Lash had I guess like I knew Lash had been around, but I guess I didn't expect um like a 205 match. I figured she was more recent than that, like in the last year or two. But I also only started watching NXT religiously for the last like 2 years, so that could put up to it. This match was pretty good because of the strength. I think it only was 3 minutes. I think if they would add a little bit more time, that's going to be the common theme. I think it would have been better. I put it in B. I liked it. And this would be complete year one. Only 13 matches. She did pretty solid though. If you look at like her stats and stuff, like she had some pretty solid some matches. She had I think she was 9-3, 10-3. Yeah. I think it was that because I mean, it wasn't bad for an opening year. Between like she started in April and went all the way to the end of the year, so she averaged about roughly about 2 matches a month. I think that was pretty decent. Maybe a little bit more here and there. I think she definitely could have got more, but again, this was from it was at the end of the Black and Gold to the to NXT 2.0 to 205. So there was a lot of change that she had. And then we'll go into year two. Her first match was against Kaylee Inklay, which is actually Kiana James. I never knew she had a different name in it. I was really surprised when I saw that because I was like, wait, is this like somebody I don't know? This was a solid match for 3 minutes. It was her first match of the year. I thought she did pretty good. I put it in A. It was my favorite match so far of that year, which I'm not really saying much because it's the first match. Then another person she did face again was Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai had like this really weird gimmick at the time. I don't know if she was like a broken one or a clairvoyant. I don't. It was some weird stuff. And this also I want to say was the mark. It was in the last match too. Sareee had the different color hair, and she at some point I don't know exactly because I didn't watch all the vignettes. I was trying to watch the vignettes that they had in between, like of all the different stuff, so I could kind of keep up with the storyline. But she was like a schoolgirl that went to Japan. They got a secret necklace from her grandma that turned her into the sun goddess Sarray. It was an interesting concept, I guess. I don't really know. It didn't really come into a play until this Mandy Rose match and a couple matches, like of what the difference was. But yeah, this match was fairly decent. I think the first match that they had together was better. This one was not as good, but it was also like kind of a weird match because of like the whole whatever was going on in Dakota's life during the time. I think she tried to attack her afterwards and then she got chased off. Then we got our first level up match, which was kind of an interesting concept. Um, Basically, I think they must have started it at this point. It was the second episode ever of Level Up. So I'm assuming it was just that must have been very fresh that year. They must have gotten rid of 205. It was against Letra Lopez, who just actually got released. I didn't think this match was anything too crazy. The problem is, like I don't know how to say, but it felt like a level up match because it was so small, and they really didn't give them a lot of time to do anything at all, even wrestle compared to like the 205 matches. I put it in C. Then we got Sarray versus uh, Tiffany Stratton. I had said that earlier that she had faced Mandy Rose a bunch more times. It actually was Tiffany Stratton. I got them confused for whatever reason. This was Tiffany Stratton before she was just so extremely over. And this match was 54 seconds because Sarray never had her necklace, so she could never change into the Sun Goddess. That was a weird concept. I get what they were going with the storyline because it felt like Tiffany Stratton was kind of like just a bully back then. But when it comes to the very next match afterwards, it makes no sense that then when she does get the necklace, she should have defeated Tiffany Stratton then. That kind of would have been an easy way to open and close the feud and trade off victories. But this 50-second thing was just kind of BS. A couple dodges, not much. It was definitely the worst match of her entire career in the WWE. Then we get the next match against Tiffany Stratton. This one, like I said, is better because it's 6 minutes, not 6 minutes, 4 minutes. Again, I would have thought this would have been the time to change change it up. She should have won, so it would have been a little bit like back and forth type thing, but I guess not. I put it in C. Tiffany Stratton had some of the moves that she had, but her bag wasn't as deep in this go ahead. But it makes sense because she was fairly new. And after this, her next appearance was another level up. It was Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley against her and Erica Yin. Never heard of her either. I tried to look her up. She barely had any matches with WWE. Um, I never Paxley and Ivy were any type of partners. I don't think they were. I think it was just a level up thing. It was a pretty solid 5 minute match. And this crazy on her second year, she never has a double digit match in time, which is kind of crazy. This one was, I think, just honestly, it just she barely had much time in it. Most of the time, she was kind of just getting beaten up. I put it in C. Next up, we had a mixed tag team thing. I think it came back to the whole like Tiffany Stratton thing, which I guess their end of their rivalry. The problem is when you look at it, this was like March, April, and May. This was like a 3 month rivalry. They only had 3 matches, and they were just completely really far apart. So I guess it like kind of was a little bit of a storyline. I guess it was like her only legitimate storyline that lasted multiple episodes. But it was her and Andre Chase versus Grayson Waller and Tiffany Stratton. Honestly, this was a really good match. I like the mixed combination. Um, Waller and Tiffany were just like those mega heels. They didn't really get to put as much offense in, but I think Sareee looked pretty good. Andre Chase looked pretty decent also. I'll put her in A. It was. I think the only thing I didn't like was like the ending was kind of wonky, just because like they had like a distraction that they got the win off on, and it just felt kind of cheapened it. But I mean, I guess that's the best we're gonna get. Then we had Sareee have I don't know if she had like a gap, but she had left to go to WWE NXT UK. She had against not was it Nana Nani? I don't know how do you even say that Nina Samuels. It was a 5 minute match. It was pretty decent. I mean, she felt way more at home over there. It looked like that style of wrestling over there, especially in the UK, fits her pretty well. I like this match. I put it in B. It was definitely my favorite match to see her just like be herself. It just obviously wasn't super long. And then her next match, which was her second to last match, is with her idol, I guess, which was Miko Satomura, who's currently retiring. And they just had a match themselves against is it Eliza Alexander and Zaina Zar? How do you in Brookside? I actually don't know how you say her name because it's ZIA. That's a wild name. I always just call it Brookside. This one I think was a really solid match. Obviously with them working together, it just looked so good and like it fit really well for everything. So I'm glad it happened. And then last but certainly not least, I know I have two pictures here, but this one just doubled up. Is her last match in the WWE. She had left for UK and she came back saying that she demanded a match with Mandy Rose because she missed out on like a tournament that got her a match against Mandy Rose. So it was a non-title thing because Mandy Rose at this point was the NXT Women's title. Don't know why it was non-titled. I'll be completely honest. It should have just been one of those, but it was a 5 minute match. Honestly, it was just kind of a stomp out. It felt like kind of like she lost all her progress leaving, and we didn't see her after that, and she left the WWE not soon after this, and it's now one of the most strong, powerful bookers slash wrestlers in Japan, and I think it worked out for her. The pros of this run, I would say, is that she definitely had some good spots. I definitely think year one was more her, and a lot of the matches were just what she's accustomed to. I think the whole gimmick change and all this stuff was an interesting choice. I'm not really necessarily was against it. It was weird. I saw the vignettes in the back. They weren't the worst things. They kind of made her more of like somewhat of a comedy act outside of the ring, and then inside the ring she was super serious. I didn't care too much. Like if it was good or bad on that one. Then she went to the Sunray drop kick, which was kind of like a lethal drop kick in the corner. I thought that was really solid. She had some really good strong moves out there that I really liked. Again, I think part of it was like the booking around this time that she could have definitely used a couple minutes in each one of these matches, and a lot of these matches could have gone up a little bit. But I think overall, I'd probably put like her run in here a B. I don't think it's necessarily bad. She has a lot of good a lot of solid matches. I definitely, if you're gonna check out one, just check out the one S tier match. I hate to say that there was only one S tier match because right now, if I went and watched a year of Sareee, like if I watched her last year, like 2024, I probably would have like 7 or 8 of those in S tier because I know she already had a bunch, and even this year she's only had like 6 matches, and I guarantee you about 3 of them are S tier matches. I'm not even like I could just think of 3 off the top of my head and automatically know the Utami match, where she lost the title in Marigold. Absolutely one of the best matches of the year, S tier. Miko Satomura that she just had it was a couple weeks ago. That was a great match. Definitely an S tier match. And then her against Veni? Yeah, it's Veni at what is it, CD Landing promotion where she lost the title there, where she's kind of on a losing streak. But yeah, that was another S tier match. And so she definitely is one of those people to check out. And her WWE run wasn't the greatest, but she did have a awesome theme, and it led to hopefully a long, great career in Japan. And maybe one day we'll get a revamp of her maybe coming over for a few matches or something. But as long as they just let her cook, I think they would have been fine. And if you guys like this, I was thinking about doing this with another wrestler. I already watched another wrestler's full year of content. And if this video does pretty good, if I get like 10 likes, I guess, I'll release it very soon then. And film it and stuff because I always like have when I have weirder stuff. I always kind of panic and think people aren't gonna like it as much because it's kind of niche. But I like doing a little bit of the niche content because it was just fun. It just was a lot of fun. I watched all of these matches in a night. Like it only took a couple hours because honestly they're not that long, so it wasn't that hard. It was the hardest thing was trying to find them and watch them in order, and luckily I'd found somebody who had a lot of them and had the vignette type stuff in between, so I kind of was in on the storyline for most of it, and yeah, I liked it. But until next time, it's been Japan. Bye guys.